Hello, dear friends, my lovely audiences. Welcome to the East West Show. Jack Chow on the East West with GNE TV. Well, it is all the time, whenever there is a moment, we talk about education. Well, that's the key to future, not only to the present, but to the future, because our prosperity lies in the future. Okay. Today, join me in the discussion about education. The subject is a little deeper than the education itself. We're talking about efforts in school versus influences outside, right? Is a big subject. Is my good friend, Mr. Wei Lo, founder and the CEO of California Sunshine Education Center. So, Mr. Lo, thank you very much for coming to the show.
Thank
You're
you, Jack.
welcome.
Thank you, Jack, for inviting me.
All right.
Hello,
You
audience.
just came from China,
I
right?
just came back from China.
All right. What did you do in China?
Oh wow! I spent 3 weeks in China doing a lot of things. Number one is that we're joining the National Association of Studying Abroad in China. It is funding. It's a first time. I mean, it's a launching meeting of this kind of association in China because usually when we talking about studying abroad, we just categorize it as a traveling, but it is more contents and have a more complicated context of being a traveler when we send students study abroad. So seeing that the group of the industry people get together, finding Studying Abroad Association attached to the National Travel Association.
Oh, I see.
I joined the meeting, a funding meeting. And number two is that I joined the Travel Association's national manager meeting in China too. Both meetings.
You mean tourism?
Tourism, that's right.
Tourism Association.
Tourism, thank you very much. Tourism Association, National Tourism Association manager training meeting.
Oh,
Both
good.
meetings were held in your hometown as well as Confucius' hometown.
Oh, I see. All right, but that's good. That's
And
good.
also I did take care of the school issues because you know that our school just launched this September 1st, and there's a lot of things. There are a lot of things going on, and routine administrations as well as staff training, and kind of things going around.
All right. Speaking of that, though, I believe I owe my audiences a little explanation or further introduction about Mr. Wei Lo. The California Sunshine Education Center has been involved in the pilot school in China, Weihai, China, of Shandong province, whereby for the past 4 years, if I'm right with the track, that he has been combining the Chinese curriculum system with that of America to make a brand new. So you're saying that you are further developing it from classroom, you stretch it out to the society.
To society and making it set up as a formal school.
Make it a
now.
connection with tourism. You make tourism another classroom of learning.
No, it's just like that. Let me correct a little bit. First of all, our program has been set up for 6 years already, and the school is upgrading from the program.
I see.
Yeah, starting from this September. In addition to the school education that every year we collect a group of Chinese youngsters and send them over here to go to the U.S., go to the classroom in the USA, and mingle with U.S. students and youngsters. And some of them presented in your program past 2 years ago, right? 3 years ago. And that program we call it Study Abroad, which is in addition to our school operation.
All right.
And that, I would say that activity is being recognized by the National Tourist Association. And we are included as an international member of that association.
All right, that's a big news. That's a big move too.
Yeah, because we believe that the
yes,
students
yes.
can only
Yeah,
study both in the classroom and outside the classroom.
2 years ago and then 3 years ago for
3 years
twice.
ago, that's right.
2 years ago and 3 years ago for
Yeah.
twice, I had a bunch of students from China that brought here by Mr. Wei Long to be here on the show. And
That's right.
I did interview quite a few of them, 4 at a time, twice for 2 shows. That's 16 kids already.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
And I feel that their number one English level is much better than I thought, right? And number two, their a limit of knowledge, a range of knowledge, were much broader than I thought, right? We chat about their impression about America on the first week, during the first week, and the impression about you as families and you as kids, their new friends they just made. Those are wonderful kids.
That's right.
I believe what you have opened was just like a window, one more window, additional window for the kids to see what's outside the classroom,
Exactly.
what's outside China.
It's also a little bit associated with the topic we're talking about.
Yes,
In and
Exactly.
outside of school business.
exactly.
That's right.
That's exactly the problem that has been bothering me for quite some time. I always wonder, you're talking about efforts in school, right? With your teachers, with your dance or whoever, principals sometimes involved, right?
That's right.
Trying so much to teach you this. And then once stepping out of the school though, our kids are seem to be swimming in the ocean of dirty stuff. All right, now, giving you an example. Now, we're a nation, we're so fond of sports, okay? Look at our players. Look at our players, what they do, right? And we're a nation so fond of films. Look at Hollywood. What those stars, quote unquote, what they do, right? And nowadays, for the past few weeks, we're talking about improper sexual conduct. People being accused for misbehavior of sexual conduct, so on and so forth, by 30, 40, 50 women at a time. Right? And then you heard about the players, basketball players in China conducted shoplifting, right? So we are talking about education is confronted. I mean, in-class education is confronted by out-class influences. Am I right?
That's right. And I think that, Jack, you just raised a very critical topic that as an educator, that we should really put a thought on it. Because it looks like that education should be a solvent for those social and behavior problems. Because kids, those stars, quote unquote, stars, were sometime in the school for their lifetime before.
Exactly.
And their behavior should be shaped up. Their morale should be taught according to the social norms as well as laws and regulations. However, they're still doing something that we call a misconduct. You just said.
You're right.
And it looks like that education should be the one that
I'm, to be honest, I'm not specifically criticizing who or who. I'm talking about as a trend. You go outside your classroom, you see a mess, right? In other words, what you learn in school gets offset once out of school.
Yeah, I do see your point. You basically pointed out there's a disparity between the classroom education and the social behavior of these kids when they go out of the school.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's always a problem that bothers me too a lot, because we, in the ideal world, that people, when every kid should be educated throughout the K to 12 and college, and they have
everything we do as adults, we set a role model for our kids. For example, people lie. People are not lying at the average Joe level, they are lying at a federal level, right? Michael Flynn, right? And Donald Trump.
That's right.
Right? They all lie. So that is the problem. Kids learn, all right? My dear friends, today with me is my good educator friend, Mr. Wei Luo, founder and the CEO of California Sunshine Education Center. And I believe that with him, we can get to the point. With him, we can get to the profound layer of the word education to see what's exactly there. All right? So stay with us. We'll be right back, please. Hello, lovely friends. My dear audiences, welcome back to the show. Today we're talking about education. However, we are touching in a profound layer of the term education. When you talk about education, it may include two sides. Number one, what you learn in school. And number two, do you get a continuation outside of school of what you learn in school, or do you get an offset once outside school? Looking at the nowadays society, I see lots of kids are facing a challenge, right? Okay, now, question to you, my dear friend, to go to the very, very origin, right? When the word education has not been created yet. Go to, let's say, Confucius time. Go to Scholastic time back in Europe, right? So did they have classroom education first or non-classroom education first?
Wow, you are talking about a very specific professional topic about education history. Basically, as far as I understand, that education, formal education, wasn't formed until 2,200 years ago. That was Confucius time, Socrates time.
That was the Scholastic time. And so Scholastic time goes to 2,000 and beyond.
That's right. And I think that Confucius time is a little bit earlier than Socrates time.
They're about the same
That's
time.
it's about a few decades in difference. But I think that the Confucius set up a model that how the education should be conducted. Basically, there's a pavilion in the Confucius temple that we see in today. It was the place where Confucius conducted his formal classroom teaching about 2,200 years ago. And by that time, education was conducted both in the classroom and outside the classroom. Think about, as the story tells, legendary tells us, that in addition to the classroom discussion with the students, and Confucius also took his students out of the classroom and travel around those states over there to learn by doing, to learn by seeing. That's how shape up or lay down the foundation of a correct education should be conducted.
Yeah, basically, they travel.
They travel.
Right?
I think
they discuss what they see.
That's right. That's the I think that's one of the most important principles by doing those activities is that education can only be a good education can only be achieved by both in the classroom and outside the classroom.
Exactly. However,
but the question you just raised up is that it looks like to me is that of course education is not a one-size-fits-all solution for every problem, because it is a social system engineering that you have to work with other systems as well, legal systems, reinforcements, moral systems, as well as the community systems, right? Together with education. But the problem, we still see the problem came out from those kids that going out of the school. It's just because that to me, is that there's a lack of education in general from the community point of view. For example, you just misconduct, most recent misconduct of players of UCLA basket team in China, right?
Yeah.
Those kids. I think that's a little bit, to me, it's a little bit complicated phenomenon that why people was doing that, why that kid was shoplifting when he was in China. That's a very serious topic that we need to put out to take a look.
The problem is that as a society, we fail to regulate our people, including those athletic stars, including those Hollywood stars. It looks that we have a bystander, we have a dual standard of a society. They speeding with cars, they do drugs, right? They do the misconduct sexually, right? And they, harassment whatsoever, what you may call it, right? So as a society, we fail to regulate them as the way we are regulated.
You know what? We do not regulate them. We just put them in a norm system. It's just up to them whether or not they will obey to go along with these norm systems. And plus, I think that those stars, they are common people. Don't see them as a role model.
No, of course.
They are common people.
We're on the same page.
They have,
no problem
they
with
have
that.
emotions. They have their behavior as behaviors as a human being. However,
yes.
we put on a lot of image or illusion on them as a social model.
They have always, remember, they have always keep in mind that they are not themselves. They are a symbol.
Some of them.
They are role models.
That's right. That's right.
Kids do follow them. Right?
You're right. Some of them.
Monkey see, monkey do. That kind of thing.
You're right. Some of them bury that very clearly in their mind, thinking about the. I think that there's quite a few models over there that doing things as definitely taking care of their social responsibilities and also taking care of their image as a social model to youngsters. For example, to my point of view, that Tom Cruise, who is doing the charity every year, and
there are quite a few good ones.
Who are those star couple? Brad Pitt.
Yeah, that's probably it.
Yeah, Brad Pitt and Jolene. That they every year they volunteer their time in the underdeveloped countries to taking care of these disadvantaged kids and families. Right. They're doing a lot of things.
Certainly not
Harvey Weinstein.
Harvey Weinstein.
That's right. So I think that when we see this misconduct as well as a dark side of Hollywood or whatever the athlete fields, we do see the brighter side of it. It's just it's reflect of our society.
Yes, and just assume that you were a kid, right? Once you were taught X, Y, Z in school, in class, and then once you walk out, you see this surrounding. This environment, it offsets you right away at the door. Am I right? So this is where we lost.
I do see your perspective, but personally, I have a different view on this.
All right.
Because
how do you?
Yeah, because school education, we call it formal education. There's always a leading effect. In terms of how norms should be setting up, how people should behave, and how the morality should be observed. However, because it is leading, it is a little bit a few steps ahead of what the reality of our community is. So there's always a time, we call it a rubber hit the road, right? And the students still need to face up the reality of our society,
I understand
either
what you
good
say.
or bad.
I have no problem with that. But the thing is that what you see outside school gets elevated inside school,
That's right.
theoretically, right?
That's right.
The teacher tells you what you have seen yesterday means this. And theoretically, we want to sum it up, X, Y, Z, like this. And here's the logic. And here's the whatever we call a moral issue. The morality is right there, right now. What if these kids see something different, right? And the teacher in the school, with their efforts to teach something with nothing to base it upon. So that is the problem. For example, patriotism. I give you patriotism, for example, right? When those athletes fail to even salute to your national flag, though, and we're still, lots of people argue on their behalf, in their favor. Okay, it's a religion issue, it's a freedom issue, it's a constitutional issue. They do have the right to freely express themselves. And this is where exactly they freely express themselves. And then, to the teacher, how would the teacher teach them? You should stand there, you should salute with your right palm on your heart, where your heart is, look at the flag, think of the flag, salute to the flag. How would the teacher do that?
You know what? I think this is some people
They
see
offset.
it. There's offset, and also I do see that if you see those phenomena from a different angle, you will see the beauty of this country.
All right.
Why is that? Let me tell you. This is a liberal country. This is a freedom country.
All right.
And funders of this this country, fathers of this country, and fought for the freedom from
All right.
right
All right.
for what we have today, as of today. And our Constitution says that people enjoys the rights of their freedom. And however, in the school education or in any education, there's a hard time that define the fine border of what is the individual freedom and what is the laws and regulations lays on. That's
okay.
what
Basically-
when I relate to that phenomenon, that not salute to your national
Basically-
flag, is that interpretation of that individual to the personal individual freedom is conflicting
Yep.
with the national law. That is
Basically, you're
that is
right.
a line.
Basically,
That's a
you're
line.
right. All right. On the legal level, you're right. Right. However, as an educator, you have a different standard. Let me check with you when I come back.
Okay.
When we come back. All right.
Okay.
And there's little confusion that we need to clarify. It's not a fine tune. Sometimes you think they are in the gray area. It is just a fine tuning thing.
That's right.
As a matter of fact, it is not. I know it's not.
I,
Let me
be-
give you an example.
I believe that is the
Let
beauty
me-
of this
yeah.
country.
No. Let me. I agree with you. Well, in that area. All right. Now, let's take a short moment. When we come back, I'll tell you, and I'll tell you in which area I do not agree. How about that? Hello, dear friends. With me in the discussion is my good friend, Mr. Wei Law, and wonderful educator who I respect a lot for his contribution to the great cause of education, for which he has done his experiment, which has been proven to be correct, to be very uplifting, lots of followers to come. Oh, by the way, yesterday I met one lady who was doing exactly the same thing you do.
I see.
All right. And I believe that you took a good lead. Lots of people
Oh,
follow.
wow, thank
All
you.
right,
I hope
good.
so.
Okay, now, back to the point.
That's right.
I did say I agree with him in some area. It is the beauty of democracy. It is the beauty of
U.S.
freedom.
democracy, I would say.
U.S. Democracy.
That's right.
It's the beauty of freedom.
That's
All right,
right.
now, You just now did mention two words, two different words. They are, to me, orange and an apple. They're totally different. Okay, now, let me ask you, how do you define the word freedom, and how do you define the word of liberal? Are they the same? Are they not the same?
Definitely, it's not the same. And I think the freedom is something that individual organizations enjoys within some certain boundary
All right.
of their movement
All right.
and behavior.
Okay, now, by
That's my
not-
understanding.
Okay.
We need
by
to check
not,
our dictionary.
By not saluting to your national flag, do you categorize them into the word freedom or into the word of liberal?
Okay, Jack, there's always two interpretation. There's always two-way interpretation for this kind of behavior. Number one, let's just explain it. Let me try to interpret.
Let me cut you.
Let me try to understand
okay.
the individual who did that. Okay, individual who did that basically came out from two reasons. Number one is that she did not agree with the current administration in terms of the themes that during the campaign, definitely Donald Trump, right? And this is number one. Number two is that their interpretation about the constitutional right is that they enjoy the freedom being not salute to a national flag. That's their interpretation.
I don't agree.
Yeah.
I don't agree.
Yeah, of course you don't agree. You don't agree. Me
I
neither.
strongly not agree.
Me neither. Let me explain it. Let us try to understand why they are doing that. Okay. And number one, from their perspective, of course, when they have those two kind of those two reasons behind that rationale. Number one, we understand their number one reason because they don't agree with our president in terms of his political views, in terms of how the country should be administrated. And number two is that their interpretation about that their personal individual freedom. I believe that there's a problem over there. That's where the problem come out. Okay, the question came out, and from other way of interpretation about the individual freedom is that any individual freedom has to be within a boundary, has to performed, behaved within boundary. That is a legal boundary.
No.
That is a norm boundary.
Yeah, I understand.
That's right.
For that part, I understand,
Yeah.
all right? But remember, I ask you to keep that in mind. I'm talking to an educator, not a lawyer, right? So that I want you to see things from an educator's eye, not a lawyer's eye. Yeah. Especially bad lawyers, especially frivolent lawyers.
Probably I'm falling into that category.
Okay, now, number one question. Number two question, when you say that they refuse to salute to the national flag because of Donald Trump, right, does our national flag stand there to represent any of the president? Or does it represent the United States of America, to which it stands, one nation under God, right? Indivisible, with a liberty and justice for all. It's not a Donald Trump's flag, am I right?
That's right.
Okay, are they confusing, or are they helping them by confusing the line?
Okay.
Am I right?
Let me-
now,
let-
with that 2 points laid to you, do you think you will have another, different point of views?
Let me try to clarify what I just presented. Probably I didn't have the chance to clarify it. About first and foremost, we are here talking about this. I'm here talking about this, not just because we understood it, so we support it. No, it's not. We definitely condemn this kind of behavior. It is not a correct act that those individuals did. Number one. Number two is that when we're trying to understand or trying to find out, dig up why they're doing that, we find it out that there is a disparity of their individual interpretation about the personal freedom, as well as how the social norms, sometimes it's legal responsibility those individuals carry out as a social person, because as a nation, in this country, we have to behave ourselves within certain limitation of legal and social norm system. There's no question about it. So that's my point.
I know. I agree with that.
That's right.
Too.
And
I
also,
agree with that too.
those
even for that, there goes another analysis. There goes another criticism. The criticism being that our culture in recent years has created rooms for liberty, for liberals, right? For liberals to argue under the guidance of a constitution, and quote and misquote the term of freedom. As a matter of fact, it's not. Okay, now put the instant back, say 100 years. In the year of 1917, if somebody does that, goes to jail. I guarantee. Now, they are not going to jail. Now they have a bunch of people trying to defend them because they're applying their freedom of expression. That is exactly the part that was wrong, that has been wrong, that our culture has allowed that to happen. Okay, together with that, all right, with the fact that our culture allows that to happen as an environment for our kids to be referential about. So when they walk out of school, excuse me. Oh, by the way, this cold is killing me. Sorry about that. But when they walk out of classroom where they were taught by the teachers, say, when you see the national flag, especially at a ceremony, you should stand there straight, right? You should look at the national flag. You should put your right palm where your heart is, right? Look at it, think about it, salute to it, right? Which is what a minute ago they learned in classroom, and then they walk out to see those athletes who refuse to do so, and they are excused, handsomely excused. Do you think the kids are having a hard time understanding?
I don't think kids have any hard time to understand this, but I do think that you expect education too much. You put on too much expectations on education. Let me tell you, there's always what textbook tells you, what your education tells you, versus what the social and community, society and community show you, demonstrate to you what you should do.
All right.
Okay. If it's think about it. How much do we still remember what we've been taught in school, right?
I do a lot.
It's only, I think education can only do a certain amount, certain level. Basically, to my understanding, education lay down your habit. All right. Lay the foundation.
That's exactly
of
the answer to my question.
However, habit emerges. Habit changes. People's personality changes as they're growing out. As the society put on them.
That's exactly the answer to my question. That is exactly the answer to my worry. My worry, my concern was that once they are out of school, once they finish school, it is the society where they go, right? And they go into an environment that is exactly the opposite of what they learn in school.
Not opposite.
Is that a hard time?
I don't agree with you. It's not opposite of what the society presented versus what the school education teaches. It's just because it is a social system engineering, because education only do a certain part of its responsibility over here, or functioning over here, and the legal system will do a certain amount of their churches, churches or temples will do a certain amount of people over there, and families don't remember.
You're saying you view this exactly the way you say you explain it in your statement From an educator's eye or from an attorney's eye?
From educators, from a social and educators' eye.
All right.
You don't put on too much expectation on school education because
Okay.
it only
All right.
solves
Let's take a short
that's
moment
much
out.
problem.
Let's take a short moment out. When we come back, we do check about educators. How about that? All right, so stay with us. Hello, lovely friends, my dear audiences, ladies and gentlemen. Love you so much. That's why we try. I, for example, with this, the fight with this bad cold, I still put myself together, like really a good host, to be responsible.
You are.
Because I feel it is my obligation that incumbents upon me to make sure that I give you the right message. Am I right? So if everybody does the same thing, we have a better environment. Am I right? Okay, now talking about educator. Now, with me in the discussion about education, society, the offset, and we came to educator, is my good friend, Mr. Wei Lo. He is the founder and CEO of California Sunshine Education Center, which is so successful in combining the American curriculum with the Chinese curriculum system to create a third one, which is recognized by both government, which is good, super good. Now, in the argument just now, we came to a point about our society failed to produce good role models for our kids to learn to copy just based upon what they learned in school. So once they're out of school, I wish them to see the same thing in consistency rather than in contradiction. Am I right? Now, unfortunately, they see in contradiction. Now, it comes to educator. Well, when we at the end of the last section, last in the fragment, we're talking about educator, right? Last segment, we say it is the educator who are responsible to teach the kids, okay, forget what you see outside, okay? What I teach here is the one, is the right way, okay? Talking about educators, though, I give you an example. In China, there is one professor, right, at a party, right? No, not a party, a forum, and a speech. He says, now that you are graduating, all right, 10 years later, if you are not worth $4 million, I will not see you.
400 million.
No, 400 million, right?
That's right.
$400 million, I will not see you. Does that sound a right signal an educator is supposed to give the kids that he just to teach?
First of all, Mr. Jack, that is happening in China. That was happening in China.
No,
And
I'm talking about humanity.
let
That
me,
includes everybody.
let's just specify the question. First of all, that was happening in China. Happened to be that the professor saying that was friend of mine.
Okay.
They are teaching in the same university in China. It's very well known in
But regardless
university in
who
China.
he is
And
to
this
you,
is number one.
but he is wrong,
Number two,
right?
that is extreme. That is extreme case.
Extremely right.
Extreme case. That's not
Extreme case.
That's
okay.
not a common case that representing the overall education, what the education looks like in China. And number three is that is in the college education. He was basically, the scenario is basically that he was talking to his college graduate. But now I'm talking about K to 12 because that's where my specialty
of course.
is.
Yeah.
And I think that when we're talking about the K to 12, which is a basic, in China we define it as a basic education or mandatory education. And what mandatory education or K to 12 education is to do is to lay a foundation together with other stakeholders. Remember that terminology, stakeholders of school, because school or school education can only functioning together with other components in a society. When I'm talking about other components.
Oh my God!
they
Thank you
are-
very much.
they
Thank
are
you very much for
families.
saying that.
They are
Other
hold on,
components
hold on.
Are there
They
not
are
conflicting components?
They are sometimes they are. They are families, they are communities, and they are business leaders, and they are politicians a lot of times, or have direct impact on school education. So when we're talking about school education, we cannot isolating those components or those stakeholders away from the education. If our school, for example, if there's one school, we think about it, in the ideal world, there's one school can teach perfectly in terms of how the norms should be observed, how the contents should be taken away, how the test score would be shooting up. That is a school that they cannot perform by themselves.
I should say, I think
Even if during the school operation they are associated, they are related to school education, but also they are.
Thank you very much for making that statement. In that statement, I would say the majority of the element of your statement just goes exactly in agreement with what I say. You're saying that what you are teaching in school as one element has to go along with the other stakeholders, right, in the society, which means you see them to better to be in accordance to each other, not in conflict to each other. Am I right? Okay, you mentioned the business successful role models. The most successful role models in China that is promoted is Jack Ma, who, with all his efforts, killed the store economy of China. Those Bob and Mom stores, right, closed down all those traditional way of purchasing, of spending, right? Now, from an educator's eye, is that the right way to promote?
There's no right or wrong.
And then as a result, there comes the professor of your friend. I never know, I'm sorry, he's your friend, that who will not see his students with a $400 million worth?
Jack, let me tell you.
Okay, now,
school.
let's do something, okay?
Okay,
now,
I know exactly what.
I'm such a stubborn guy.
You are so stubborn. Let me.
I won't cry until I see my own coffin. Okay, now.
Let me explain it to you.
$400,000.
What?
Right?
400 million.
In 10 years.
For what?
If a guy can make
400 million.
$400 million in 10 years, he has to make $40 million per year.
That's right.
Or $40 million per year.
That's right.
$40 million per year divided by 365. This person has to make $109,589 and 1 penny every single day. What is he doing? Robbing a bank?
Jack.
To make that kind of money?
I believe there's a context of that dialogue. Don't take it wrong. Don't take it wrong. I think this is an inspirational, as far as my understanding about the context. Don't forget the context of that dialogue. It's just it's a graduation ceremony that the teacher.
Once again, you got to ask who said that. If Jack Zhao says that, it's okay. If Jack Zhao's son says that, it's okay. It's a professor who teach them said that.
I think that
once again we're talking about back to the last segment. I ask you to see it in the educator's eye.
Let me tell you how educator. Let me share with you my opinion as an educator to see this phenomenon. The point they just raised up. Number one is that we have to take a broader view on what the context of that dialogue was occurring. Number two is that what the purpose of that teacher delivered that speech to the students. And I think that don't misunderstand the overall or original objective of that speech. Basically, my understanding is that he wanted to inspire his students to do well in business. Otherwise, 10 years from now, you're doing nothing and don't come back to see me. That's basically, that 400 million is just a symbolic number.
Okay, even for that.
That's
if
right.
I had been a teacher, I would be precise everything I say, all right? I will never teach my students to make $109,000,
But-
$589 and a penny per day. What does he do?
And-
right?
and-
Robbing a bank, selling drugs,
No.
or sell warhead?
No, he was talking to a group of MBA students. That's specific, the audience of the context. And number two is that he is a real estate professor. You know that 400 million within 10 years, 10 years ago in China, it's not a magic number. And a lot of his classmates, and this guy successfully taught Liu Qiangdong, the owner of Jingdong.
I know. I let you slide.
Sun Hongwei.
I let you slide.
And also his teacher.
I let you slide.
So
for
it's
the
not
sake-
isolated.
I let you slide.
So
for
we
the
have,
sake-
as an educator, let me show you. We have to see any phenomenon from a broader view, and also we have to put the fact aside and also put your opinion aside. Take a critical thinking approach.
Yeah. All right. Now.
That's how we teach our students.
Exactly. Exactly because I'm doing the critical thinking. Right, I put up this number. They sound so strange to me. It is a wrong call.
But don't-
It is a wrong call.
But don't get me wrong. It's
I
not a
said-
good teaching.
Still, yeah, good. Still, I said, for the sake he's a friend of yours, I'll let you go. How about that? And basically, he delivered a wrong message, or say he delivered less perfect message. How about that?
I think his message was not that accurate. Or I would say, as a professional, he probably say something he shouldn't say in that context.
Yes, you're right. Even in that concept, as an educator,
But
you're
media
not
get it,
supposed-
amplify it.
All right. Even I get it, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not amplifying anything. I'm just doing a little calculation. I found those numbers better.
Amplify or magnify it. I would say.
Unless rob the bank, doing drugs, or sell some nuclear warhead, whatever.
No, start up a business in
nobody's
China. That's
that kind of
possible.
money.
That's possible.
Okay, everything is possible. Today, with my good friend, Mr. Wei Law, founder and CEO of California Sunshine Center, Education Center, who I respect a lot, and successful in both China and United States. And we had some good time with the argument. We argue for the purpose of learning, right? I learn every single day. And we at least got one thing clear, that classroom learning has to be in the collaboration, of call it that way, with what happens outside the classroom. At least not exactly the contrary, right? Okay, and that page we have a very much agreement. So, my dear audiences, thank you for watching. If you have any opinions regarding education, regarding the subject, please feel free to write to me. Just write to tell my DJ at gmail.com. All right. Or you can even write direct to me, say jack at edimediainc.com, and I'll get back to you, I promise, in person. And if the opinion is so much, we will once again have a Professor Lo Wei here to talk about it again, all right? So thank you for sharing, and my audiences, we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
Thank you, audience.